I'm very pleased to be here on My Magical Thing with Vanessa Sinclair, psychoanalyst, artist, podcaster, and occultist. Vanessa, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Julian.
Well, Vanessa, please may we see your magical thing?
Sure. It took me a minute to figure out what to show because there are so many magical things in our world, but I figured this one was pretty special. This is the Pandrogyny pendant,
Oh,
and I get it to
yes.
stop moving so much. And it was given to me by Genesis Briar Peerage in 2013. And I met Jen in 2011 at a mutual friend's birthday party. And then when I started teaching a course at the New School for Social Research in New York on gender, sexuality, and perversion, that same mutual friend suggested that Jen might want to come and talk to my undergraduate psychology class. And that was kind of surprising. It's like, really? Genesis would love to do that. But she did. And yeah, and then after that, like up leading up to the process, Jen wanted to get together a few times to figure out like what the class was about and how her work fit in. It of course fit in all sorts of wonderful ways. And totally blew the students' minds because they hadn't heard of Jen and they hadn't heard of industrial music or pandrogyny or any of this. So it was really, really great to have Jen there. And one day when I came over to Jen's house after dinner, I guess the first thing that happened was Jen brought me into her bedroom to show me she had this book called The Big Blue. And Big Blue was the journals that she kept during the Topi era, like the 1980s and early 90s. And she just like opened it and said, okay, now like sit on the bed and then like open it to a random page and let's see what it says, like do a little bit of bibliomancy. And we opened the book and it opened to July 1st, 1984. I'm born in 1977, but July 1st is my birthday. So I said, "Oh, that's my birthday. How perfect, a sync, of course." And then Jen said, "Well, that's Lady J's birthday." So then there was this like, "Oh, okay, interesting connection." And then we were like sitting on the couch, and I noticed Jen wearing this pendant around her neck. And I just like kept looking at it, and I was like, "What is that?" And she said, "Oh, this is the Pandrogyny pendant." And I was just like, oh, cool, that's interesting. And she showed me like a drawing that she had made. And then the bass player, Alice Janice from Psychic TV, PTV3, is also a jeweler. So she had these pendants made for Jen and Jay. And then I thought that was the end of that. And then when I went home that night, I had a dream of this pendant like flying in my face. Like I woke up and it was like, like that in my face. I woke up and I texted Jen in the middle of the night and I was like, oh, I just had a dream about the Pandrogyny pendant. And Jen said, oh, I think Jay wants you to have it. So Jen ended up gifting me this pendant that she said belonged to Lady J. Yeah, and then it's just been such a wild ride since then. This was in 2013. So it's been 11 years I've had it. And it's been really interesting to get to know. Obviously, Jen was interesting to get to know, but also Lady J. And like, I had never really, I'm a psychologist. So even though I'm a magical person, I did go through this like kind of normalization period where like my magical thinking got like beat out of me through, school and socialization. And I started thinking of everything as kind of psychological, where like people can speak to dead people. That's totally, I never pathologized that, but I always just thought it was like something in their mind, and same thing with like deities and nature spirits and everything like that. And, that started wearing away once I like got out of my training and I got into private practice. And I really saw that like astrology, for example, I would see all my patients in private practice, like kind of everyone's coming in with like romantic issues one day. And then the next day, next week, everyone's having, issues with something else. But it seemed like everyone was going through like similar things. And I was also going through those similar things at the same time. And I was like, maybe there's something to this astrology thing after all, And then with this, I started realizing like Jay was very communicative ever since I acquired this pendant, and like very present in my life, which made me feel a little like, I didn't know her in life. Carl knew her. Jen, of course, was close to her, and I was close to Jen at the time. But it was really interesting to see how this person that was close to someone I was, very close with at the time was kind of communicating to me in her own way. And then, I would kind of tell Jen like what my experiences were, and Jen would be like, "Oh yeah," and like show me things that would like make that make sense and that sort of thing. So having this and like getting to know Lady J in that way, like really opened my worldview and made me understand consciousness differently, and how consciousness, is transmitted, and how people communicate, often unconsciously, or without words, and across space and time, and even life and death. So it's really kind of, yeah, changed my whole world around, opened my worldview much more. And I think I used to believe this, when I was much younger, but then, like I said, you get kind of socialized and these things get knocked out of you. So it kind of brought me back to a place that I was before, but I guess back more to myself. So it's been, yeah, a really wonderful journey.
Vanessa, that's a lovely story. Could we have another look at the Pandrogyny pendant, please?
Yes.
What a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's really exquisite. And now, since Jen has passed, the same artist who makes them, Jen's having a big show right now in Prague that's like a huge retrospective. And as part of the opening of that, the artist, the jeweler that makes them, started making them in silver. Her name's Alice Janice. So now you can actually acquire them, but they're in silver instead of gold, if you want your own Pandrogyny pendant and want to go on a wild ride with Genesis and Lady J.
Vanessa, that's fantastic. Thank you so, so much for sharing your magical thing. That is really, really appreciated, my friend. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Thank you.